Welcome to Brothers at Breakfast, a Mission 1711 podcast. If you would like to join us sometime, please contact us. We hope you'll become a regular listener and share this content with everyone you know.
I'd met a guy in the Army who said he just got out of Armed Forces radio and television. He said, if you join with your first class radio license, you'll get into this field. And I did. In the middle of boot camp, about 6 weeks of boot camp, somebody came and said, report to the general's office. And I had a double time over there. And I stood up at attention while they gave me a test. And the test consisted of three questions. First question of which was uh, pick up this record. And they wanted to see if I could pick up a 33 RPM record properly. The second question was what is a segue? And the third question was what are the elements of a lead? That is, in newspaper, the lead sentence has got to who, what, when, where,
Right.
and how. And
Yep.
why was a little bit more editorial. So I guess I passed. And at the end of boot camp, there's 60 of us, and everybody was military occupational specialty, or MOS, of 0311, which was infantry. This was at the height of the Vietnam War, 67. And they said, okay, you, Licciardi, 4313. Everybody wondered, what's 4313? Radio, television, information. So that was a step. I'll tell you about a more important step. I was stationed at Camp Pendleton doing this very thing in the Marine Corps, and I was producing and voicing shows on the radio and some TV documentaries about Marines. And I even was offered a half-hour show in Hollywood, interviewing celebrities. At that time, Hollywood was on the side of Vietnam, was supportive. And so they would send these celebrities over to do an interview about how supportive they were of the boys in uniform. And so I even did that.
I have a question for you about that. Did you ever meet Joe Galloway, the famous Vietnam War writer who
I do know who he is, but I never met him.
Was your experience at all similar to what he did there with Hal Moore, the colonel from that 7th Cavalry event?
Well, I'll get into that in
Okay.
course.
Sure.
One day at Camp Pendleton, our colonel came to us and lined us all up in the bullpen and said, "Who wants to go to Vietnam? Take one step forward." Three of us did.
Wow.
And the next day, I was doing an indoor a rifle salute, something that you just do not learn much in boot camp.
Yeah.
Rifle salute inside a tent. And Captain Joel Parks was the company commander. And the reason I mention his name is important later. But Captain Joel Parks said, "What's your MOS?" And I said, 4313. He said, "What's that?" I said, "Radio, TV, information." He said, "You're a rifleman in the 3rd Platoon."
Oh, wow.
I was put into the infantry along with my other two chums who had taken that step forward. So there we were, day and night patrols, and all the rest of it that comes with being in the Marine Corps in Vietnam. And this was right after the Tet Offensive in 1968. And one of my chums got his leg blown off in the first 2 weeks.
Ooh.
Tim Forager was his name, and he ended up going home. And two others were there in Vietnam for a period of about 6 months. And one day, I was behind the company commander, Joel Parks, and he turned around because we were a battalion made up of MOSs that were non-infantry. And he asked me, well, what's your MOS? And I said 4313. Of course, he didn't remember me from the original interview. He said, what's that? I said, radio, TV information. He said, well, what do you do? And I told him. He said, okay, let's hear some shtick. And
Okay.
I introduced a record in a radio voice, in a disc jockey type voice. And he says, okay, the next time I need a radio operator, you're it. And about 2 weeks later, his radio operator was killed.
Hmm.
The executive officers, that is the second in command's radio operator, moved up to be the company commander's radio operator. I became the executive officer's radio operator.
Wow.
That took me out of the day and night patrols. The only thing it did on larger operations, I was the guy carrying a green backpack with a black
Yeah.
end sticking up, and was more of a target than possibly in the past.
Yeah. Wow.
And so I ended up getting a medal. And Joel Parks recommended me for the medal. When you get a medal, a general comes and pins it on your chest. A guy comes out from the information office and asks you about how you got the medal and that sort of thing, sends it to your hometown newspaper.
Hmm.
And there in the San Fernando Valley News and Green Sheet newspaper, my parents were able to see me getting a medal in Vietnam. And the guy who asked me those questions said, started talking to me. I said, I'm supposed to be doing what you're doing. I'm the same MOS as you. He said, you're kidding. And I said, no. And there's one other of us as well. And he went back to his commander, and his commander plucked us out after 6 months in the infantry and back to doing what we were doing, what we should have been doing, what our MOS was for, but in Vietnam.
Wow. What an amazing story. And what a blessing that you made it that long when your friend didn't even make it 2 weeks. That's incredible.